Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Gino Ferri. I'm the Director of Survival in the Bush Incorporated, and for this segment I'm going to be interviewing one of our instructors, John McDermott. John, I have some questions for you.
Fire away.
How long have you been with this company?
I've been with Survival in the Bush since 2007, so about 13 years now.
Now, since the time you joined, has your preparation and your attitude towards wilderness changed at all?
Immensely, yeah. When I've always been an outdoorsman ever since I was a little kid, canoeing and kayaking and hiking and fishing, and I look back on those days, and when you're young, you don't usually know that much about survival or the risks that you're putting yourself in. So, in a lot of my outings, and I was quite unprepared in my younger days, but since coming on with Survival in the Bush,
what do you mean unprepared?
Changed.
What do you mean?
Unprepared meaning not having the proper equipment with me, not having redundancies or multi-purpose gear, not always telling people where I was or where I was going to be and when I was coming back. Basically putting myself in a more risky situation by not thinking through contingencies, what could happen.
All right, now you're also a pilot.
Correct.
When you're flying over some desolate regions of Canada, and I'm sure you've flown over Hudson's Bay, James Bay, the Tundra region, what do you think of as far as what could happen to you if the plane goes down?
And that's a great question, because every flight is different. Your destination and the terrain that you're flying over is different. So you're going to be looking at not only what your options are from an airport perspective if you have a mechanical problem, but you also need to think about what happens if the worst happens and I crash. What situation am I going to find myself in? What's the weather going to be? Is there snow on the ground? Will there be water where I'm going? Will they be able to find me? So you have to really take all these factors into consideration as part of your flight planning and make sure that you're carrying with you whatever you might need to ensure your own survival, in addition to whatever is on the plane.
Now, we work with pilots. Last 15, 20 years we've worked with teaching pilots wilderness survival. What advice would you give a pilot, especially an individual who's going to be flying across northern Canada?
Most aircraft operations will include a certain amount of equipment for safety and first aid. If you're in that situation, always know what's available to you. What does the operator provide you, and know how to use it. And if you feel that it's insufficient, if it makes the minimum requirements but you would like to have some more, feel free to pack whatever you think might be necessary for yourself and for anyone else that may be on the aircraft, and carry it with you.
Now, speaking of carrying things with you, what's that item that you always seem to carry with you wherever you go? What is it?
When I started with Survival in the Bush, or early prior to that, my survival kit was actually quite large. I had everything in the kitchen sink included in the kit, but over time and with experience and with all the different outings that we've gone on, I've managed to pare my survival tin down to this small container.
Wow.
So in here I have 3 methods of starting a fire. I have garbage bags that can be used for shelter and for waterproofing. I also have water purification capabilities in here, as well as some things to keep myself busy. I've got fishing line, fishing hooks, snare wire, and in addition to this, I always carry a small knife with me at all times. So when I'm paddling, this is both in my life jacket and when I'm on the water.
So it's with you at all times.
At all times.
Interesting that you mentioned, you said that you have things to keep you occupied.
Yeah.
In my survival research, I found that boredom was one of the key enemy of survival. Boredom. The fact that you're alone, the fact that you're going to be cold and wet, and I see that you're carrying things in here that will protect you from the cold, fire, etc. You've done a lot of research on pilots that have gone missing, and you mentioned this in your presentation of pilots. What's one extreme case that you've researched?
There's one interesting case that came up, and this was in BC back in 2017. There was a small aircraft that took off from one of the local airports, and he was doing a scenic flight to another airport, and he ended up getting lost. He went down the wrong mountain valley, and his aircraft was underpowered, and he couldn't make it over the top, and he ended up landing on a glacier at the top of the mountain. The plane was intact. It was a pretty spectacular landing, but these guys got out standing on top of a wind-swept glacier in shorts and running shoes and t-shirts.
What?
Yeah. And they had nothing else on the plane, nothing else prepared. They did not have an itinerary with some responsible person who could call if they got lost. And the three guys ended up walking down the glacier to the tree line to follow a river before they were eventually found. But they were pretty worried about their situation for obvious reasons, that they went so far as to write their names in Sharpie on their arms as well as on the aircraft to let people know where they went.
Oh my God. There's another key point that you mentioned. You said have something on the airplane that you yourself brought to help you, and also mark the kit on the plane. The interesting thing is that a military plane that went down a number of years ago, their survival kit was mixed in with all the other kit that was on the airplane. They couldn't find it. So what advice would you also give to pilots about making it stand out?
Brightly colored, a bag, a waterproof container, something clearly marked as survival or first aid, so you can identify what's what, as well as any passenger. If the pilot's not able, the passengers can identify what's there and what's available.
But John, you're an experienced pilot. You know all this is never going to happen to you, right?
Everybody likes to think that, but you should always be prepared regardless.
There are old pilots and there are bold pilots, but there ain't no old, bold pilots. Thank you, John.
Sure. Thank you.